Hey, so I want to share this with you. Those who are close to me, in relation to me, know that I say this all the time. We need to watch what we say. We need to watch our mouths. We need to watch our words. We need to watch what we say. We need to watch what we co-sign to. We need to watch what we come in agreement with. We need to watch it. Like, our intent might be honorable, but when you co-sign into something or coming in agreement with something, you don't always know the intent of the other person that you're coming in agreement with, and that can cause you to become trapped by your own words. So that's why it is so important for us to watch our mouths, watch what we say, and watch what we come in agreement with. Everything that everybody say around us is not always right. We don't need to be quick to agree with everything. So what brought me to this, and the need to share this, is Daniel chapter 6. This is a Daniel day, y'all. This is a Daniel morning, early morning. I don't know what time it is. It's probably like about 12:30, 1 o'clock by now in the morning. So this is a Daniel morning. So here, Daniel was, okay, here's the story. Here's the background story. By this time, Babylon has been conquered by the Medes and the Persians, Medo-Persia. They've been conquered. Darius is now in charge. He's king of Medo-Persia, and over Babylon, he has set up satraps, which is like mayors. I'm going to say like mayors, and he has set up governors over the mayors. So he set up 120 satraps and 3 governors over this kingdom, over the whole kingdom of Babylon. And so Daniel was one of those governors. Now, I don't know if you all saw the other video I did on Daniel chapter 5, where I spoke of how Daniel, there was a lot that was being talked about. There was a lot of people talking about Daniel. And so in chapter 5, it had got back to the king of Babylon, who ended up dying that night. It had got back to the king about Daniel, and that he was full of the Spirit of God. He was full of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And when this King Belshazzar of Babylon, the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar, who should have known better, but because he didn't, he ended up dying because of his behavior. Well, Darius the Mede, who conquered them, he now takes over and he sets up these different ones. And of course, Daniel, a lot is known about Daniel. A lot is talked about Daniel, and is even reaching other people. Now, your gifts will make room for you. So Daniel is one of the ones who was put in charge as a governor, not a satrap, but as a governor over the whole of Babylon. So the other 2 governors and the other 120 satraps, they're jealous of Daniel, because Daniel is for real, the real deal. And because he's the real deal, because as verse number 3 says about Daniel, it says an excellent spirit was found to be in him, in Daniel, to the point that he began to outshine everybody else. Or as it says again in verse 3, it says, then this Daniel distinguished himself above the governors and satraps because an excellent spirit was found in him. So they are now jealous, and you gotta watch jealous people. A lot of people talking now. A lot of people talking. They're talking about you now. So they said, now this is one of the things that these jealous people, now these people are talking about Daniel. Now this is one of the things that they said about Daniel. This is verse 4 and 5. It says, and this is Daniel chapter 6. It says, so the governors and the satraps, the other 2, because it was only 3 governors, Daniel was 1. So the other 2 governors and these 120 satraps, it says, they sought to find some charge against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could not find no charge or fault, because he was faithful. So that's one of the things that they saw about Daniel. He was faithful. He was full of faith. He was faithful. And nor was there any error or fault found in him. Couldn't find no fault. No error. They talking about you now. So it says, then verse 5, then these men said, we shall not find any charge against this Daniel unless we find it against him concerning the law of his God. So they couldn't find it in other matters. They couldn't find it in everyday matters. They couldn't find it in governmental or personal interactions. They couldn't find it in none of that. So they had to go now to his place of worship. They had to go to where he kneeled his knee. They had to go to the law of his God. And the fact that they had to do that, the fact that they were able to understand, like you had to be watching. You had to be watching clearly. So it says, what they now do is they go to Darius, the king of Medo-Persia. They go to Darius and they say to Darius, King Darius, live forever. All the governors of the kingdom, the administrators and satraps, the counselors and advisors have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whoever petitions any god or man for 30 days except you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing so that it cannot be changed according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which does not altar. So not only did they have to understand the law of the God of Daniel, but they also had to understand the law of the king of Mede and Persia, that what he signs, what he establishes cannot be changed. And they stroked his ego with it. You, O king, we gonna worship you for 30 days. And nobody, if they worship anybody other than you for 30 days, we're going to honor you. We're going to celebrate you for 30 days. And if they worship anybody else but you, that person needs to be thrown into the den of lions. And so now Darius, the king, is not thinking nothing of it because they want to honor him. So they stroking his ego. They stroking his belly, and it sounds good and it sounds right. And he signs this unknowingly until after the trap has been set and Daniel has been exposed. Now, verse number 14 of Daniel chapter 6, it says, and the king, when he heard these words, when he heard what happened with Daniel, it says he was greatly displeased with himself. Why was he displeased greatly with him? Not with them, but with himself. Because as king, he allowed himself to be trapped by his own words. Y'all, we got to watch our words. We got to watch what we co-sign to. We got to watch what we agree with. When you on the phone and you talking with somebody on the phone and they going on and on and on about this, that, and the other, and it ain't right, you don't need to be co-signing in agreement with that. You need to be speaking God's word. You need to be speaking truth. You need to be speaking truth. Let me tell you, when it was all said and done, finish reading that in chapter 6. Finish reading that, you will find when it's all said and done, those men that tried to entrap Daniel and have him thrown into the lion's den, after it was all over, they got thrown into the lion's den. So the traps that they set, they was thrown in it. They ended up getting thrown into that trap themselves. Yeah, so, okay. Watch your words. Watch what you're co-signing to. Don't be in agreement with everybody. When people is wrong, stand up and say, that ain't right. You better stand up and say it. Don't let yourself get caught. Don't let yourself get caught and entrapped by your own words. All right, bye.